Welcome to the Rogue Wave podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and the disruptors behind it. We talk comics, movies, TV, and pop culture every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on Facebook.com/Rogue Matter Podcast and Facebook.com and YouTube.com/Rogue Matter. I'm your host, Michael Dolce, as always, joined by my cohort in crime, Mr. Hassan Godwin. How you doing, sir?
Doing wonderful this time.
Feels like we've done this once before. That's the magic of doing live podcast recording. You just never know what's going to happen.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
So here
as long as I know what's going on now.
as long as you know, and as long as we know that we're actually sounding pretty good. All right, well, let's jump right into it. Matrix movie. We got the trailer, just came out, and it was exciting to see. We talked about it last week. We also talked about it briefly on Facebook earlier, how it looks like John Wick. No question about it, because for some reason his appearance has not changed, and what can we do about that? It's Keanu Reeves, right?
Yeah, I mean, why would you? I mean, who cares that he doesn't look? I mean, what do you want him to look like? He was 20 years younger. He was 25 years younger or whatever when the first. I mean, he doesn't look like that anymore. So, The beard and goatee allow him to kind of still have a youthful look while looking mature. It's fine.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think the fact that John Wick has martial arts in it, has all this fighting in it, it is what it is. Like you said previously, there would be no Matrix 4 without John Wick, so I'm totally cool with it. No problems whatsoever. The trailer itself, though, my initial take on it, after I got over the enthusiasm of seeing the Matrix back, because obviously, look, it is without a doubt one of the seminal works of the 90s and early 2000s, right? I mean, no matter what, the Matrix is this huge.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would say the early 2000s, the beginning of the new millennium, right?
Okay.
Because it came out in 1999, so it's not. I mean, it came out in the 90s technically, but it's not really 90s genre.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
it's kind of the evolution of 90s genre.
I mean, it completely changed everything, right? Right? Is it safe to say that it changed absolutely everything?
It's the precursor to the new era that we had in the early aughts.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And it changed the way we did fighting, martial arts in general. I mean, all that stuff was just completely. The way
Americans did it, it was a direct homage or derivative of Chinese kung fu fantasy cinema.
Yeah.
With wire work and stuff like that. So I mean, it just inspired America to start doing that, and we did it ad nauseum. And to dubious effect, because there really isn't anything that we've done that ripped off the Matrix that stands out as much as the Matrix.
Right.
Sometimes you get genre rip-offs and they have a lasting effect.
Right.
But not with the Matrix.
Right.
The Matrix kind of stands alone. And theoretically, if you want to parse it, nothing even stood up to the first movie.
Yeah.
Because even arguably the second and the third movie are not as well received as the first movie. So arguably even they couldn't stand up to the genre that the first movie invented.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, it was such a departure, those two movies, and that's the thing about this particular trailer that I liked, right? Like, this particular trailer felt more like the first movie, right? Which is when you're rebooting a franchise, or when you're, I mean, I don't want to use the word reboot, but when you are revitalizing a franchise, you want to touch on what people got excited about in the first place. And then you also want to move it into somewhere different. Here's where we're going to play a little game here. It's called Go Rogue or Go Home. Now, rogue by definition is displaying independence or failing to follow an expected script, right? Like, so basically being different. I was actually, while doing the research, this term rogue actually came from elephants, because there'd be one elephant that ran away from the herd or just wouldn't follow the rest of the herd, right? And we're Rogue Wave. We're part of RogueMatter.com. Big announcements coming next week. Very excited about all that. And after the euphoria of kind of getting that feel of the original Matrix back, and seeing Neil Patrick Harris, which I'll watch him in anything. He's fantastic. He's Harold and Kumar. He's Barney Stinson. Love him as an actor and as a character actor. So I'm excited to see him in this. He probably doesn't have as huge a role as he had in the trailer, but whatever. I'll like I said, points for just having him there to begin with. I don't think this is going to be a very rogue movie. I feel like it's going to be Force Awakens Part 2. I think it's going to give us a lot of what we loved about it. And so we're going to walk out being like, wow, I really enjoyed that movie because it felt like The Matrix, whereas Revolutions and Reloaded did not feel like the first movie. And there's a risk to doing that, so I applaud the risk that Lana Wachowski and the Wachowski sisters did. But
hold on, wait a minute. Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
You're basically saying that you don't think that the movie is going to rogue. It's not going to go rogue. It's going to go home, right?
Yes.
Because it's going to be too much like the original movie.
Yes.
It's going to be like The Force Awakens Part 2.
Yep.
But you're also criticizing the other two Matrix movies for being too much unlike the original movie. So it's kind of counterintuitive what you're saying. Like, it's not going to be successful because it's going to be too much like a movie where the two sequels were unsuccessful because it wasn't enough like the original movie. I
think what I'm trying to say, though, is, and that's actually a very accurate summary of what I just said. I'll give you a metaphor, though. It all depends on when things are released for how it's perceived, right? The fact that this is a reboot makes it a little more dangerous in the sense that, they're now responding to what people didn't like about the second and third movie. And so, by doing that, they're going to go back to what it was had they done that on the outset. Here's my metaphor if you're a Strokes fan. Did you like the band The Strokes?
No.
Okay. I love The Strokes. Their first record is one of those like critically praised records. Their second album was not as critically received because it was, now this is actually going to go opposite me. It's not the best metaphor, but it was too similar and didn't do anything different. Their third album came out and was different enough. So it had that third album been their second album, it would have, I think, appeased critics as to when it came out. And then if they'd have released the second album and as the third album, then that album would have been like, wow, this is a return to form, and you'd have like 3 records that are now heralded as opposed to just one and then kind of like a negative reaction, then a positive reaction, but too little too late. I think it's the same kind of thing with this film. I think with this trailer, in terms of what I perceive it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be rogue. I think it's going to be the Star Wars. Now, of course, we don't know, but that was my initial impression. Am I going to go see the movie? Of course I am. I'm going to watch it on HBO Max because they were kind enough to do that. But I don't know. What was your impression of the trailer? And do you think it's this rogue? Does it have the right rogue mentality?
Like I said, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the trailer. There's not much to it, really.
Yeah.
That was given, other than the knowledge that apparently, everything's being rebooted, and to the point where, all our main characters, if they are indeed the main characters, the same characters from the previous series, because it's a possibility that they are not, they don't remember the previous exploits of the last installments. So that's pretty much the only impression I get.
Mm-hmm.
I'm intrigued, but it's not gonna. It's not gonna.
Are we back? Look at us. We're back. All right. Very good. The feed is back. All right. Good to know.
It's not a good night for the rogue people.
No, it's been a very rogue. It's been a very rogue kind of night. There's no question.
The system is going rogue on us.
The system absolutely has gone rogue on us. The technology is fighting against we are in the Matrix tonight.
Yeah, they don't like us talking about them.
Yeah.
They don't like us speaking about the Matrix.
No, apparently not.
It's a Fight Club situation. The first rule of Matrix is don't talk about the Matrix. So I guess we should move on, most likely. I'm looking forward to it. I'll go see it. That's it.
All right, so here's what we will move on to. It's more Matrix, though. It is the fact that Yahya Abdul Mateen II confirms that he is playing Morpheus. Okay? And here's something about this that is very intriguing. So first of all, I'll give you a little setup for it. He was brought into early pre-production by Lana Wachowski to play a mysterious character. Not too mysterious in terms of how he looked in the trailer. Rumors and speculation suggested the Candyman actor would be playing Morpheus' son, but it looks like the man is playing Morpheus himself. Taking to Instagram, he shared a snap of him dual-wielding gun and rocking a crisp suit and round spectacles. He clearly looks like Morpheus, right down to his stylings, but the confirmation came from an Instagram post from Mateen II himself in the not-so-subtle caption, Morpheus. Lawrence Fishburne went on record saying, he was, not happy with not being invited back. Like he was not happy. He was like, I think his quote was, "You'll have to ask, Lana about this. You'll have to, all this other stuff, right?" Like it was crazy. Like he clearly was upset that he was not welcome back. And I gotta tell you, I cry foul with Lana a little bit here. Yahya was told he'd be playing a mysterious character, and clearly it's young. It looks like young Morpheus. That seems to be what the rumor is. I kind of feel like, wouldn't you be? I don't know. Was he playing like if he was playing coy, and he kind of knew? All right, but me personally, I would be very worried, like stepping into this iconic role, especially when Lawrence Fishburne's still around. There's still like there's de-aging technology, so it's a little strange.
We don't know that he's not, weird about it. We just know he's playing the duel.
Yeah.
So, it sucks that they didn't bring Lawrence Fishburne back. He deserved to be able to be brought back.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have him. Considering Carrie-Anne Moss is in it and Keanu's back. I mean, there's definitely elements to this where you're like, wow, I wish, But at the same time, we'll find out, as Steve Obecki just pointed out on the feed, once we know the story, obviously. But it goes beyond just the story, though, right? I mean, it goes to... Well, actually, I guess I would be happy. Would you be happy if, you got Harrison Ford, but you didn't get, Carrie Fisher?
But that's what I'm saying. Like, hence, why don't we just wait until we can see the films so that we can know whether or not these choices were good choices or not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially if there's there's an abundance of information that we don't have while we're speculating.
So, got me thinking though. If he's been recast, what are the top 10 recasts out there? Like, what are the top 10 recast movies that are out there, or recast roles that are out there? And you can go to the Google, and I found one on Screen Crush, and I thought this is pretty good. I want to know what your thoughts on these top 10 major movie franchise recastings. Victoria in the Twilight Saga. Did you watch the Twilight Saga?
Yes.
Okay. So fans of Stephenie Meyer's Twilight series, you had to think about that for a second. Was that did you want people to know that you watched the Twilight Saga? Is there a story behind you watching the Twilight Saga?
If I didn't want you to know, how would I answer your question?
No, because you hesitated. So I feel like things were happening in your brain. You were like, wait a minute.
I mean, if I was uneasy talking about whether or not I watched Twilight, would I entertain your question right now, or would I just urge you to move on?
Yeah.
Make your point.
Fair enough. I like it. I'm down with that.
I'm just trying to just exploit a tender moment. Fine, if you will. But okay? So yeah, Victoria. They traded her with Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yeah. According to the production team, the decision was made due to a scheduling conflict, and she was promptly replaced with Bryce Dallas Howard. So
which is BS. Yeah, we have a scheduling conflict, so we're gonna pay this lesser-known actress that we have to pay considerably less for a better-known actress that we'd have to pay considerably more. That because of scheduling. That makes perfect sense.
We got a couple good ones on the feed already, and I haven't even gotten into the best like the rest of this list here. Mark Pensavalli says James Bond, but I would say that falls into the Doctor Who category, right?
That's in the design of the narrative in and of itself, right? Or at least the franchise narrative.
Yeah.
Not the story narrative.
Yeah, that's a Doctor Who kind of thing. But maybe it wasn't at first. Maybe that, do we know like 40 years ago they were like, we can have multiple James Bonds, or it was kind of like, let's recast him.
I think it was supposed to be like that, and then Connery was like, I'm out. And
Yeah.
like, you gotta find someone else because we're making too much money, and that set the precedence.
I like that. I'm down with that. Evelyn O'Connell in The Mummy. In 2007, it was announced Maria Bello would be joining the cast.
Replacing Rachel Weisz.
Yeah. The exact reason was never fully understood.
Rachel Weisz was like, I'm not doing a third one. That was the reason.
Marnie Piper in Halloween Town. I don't even know what Halloween Town is. Do you know what Halloween Town?
Not at all.
It's a Disney Channel thing. I don't know about that one. We'll skip that one. Rachel Dawes in Batman Begins. Remember that now?
Yes.
That was
Katie Holmes.
Katie Holmes, yeah.
Replaced by Maggie Gyllenhaal.
I think that was probably Tom Cruise's doing. I think she was dating Tom Cruise, or married to Tom Cruise at the time.
Speculation. I don't do that. All we know is she wasn't in it.
Well, it was her decision to leave.
Tom Cruise didn't want to get blown up. Oh, spoiler.
It was her decision. Yeah. No wife of mine gets blown up. This one's an obvious one, and we haven't seen it on the timeline yet on Facebook, which is pretty good. It's the James Rhodes, Terrence Howard, not
replaced by Don Cheadle.
Not the most infamous Marvel recasting though, right? I mean, you would have to probably say the Mark Ruffalo, Ed Norton one. Which one's a bigger Marvel recasting?
The bigger?
Yeah, like a bigger deal.
I'd probably say Ruffalo being replaced. I mean, replacing Edward Norton. Probably a bigger deal. But I don't know if it's a big deal either way. Mark Pensavalli's correct, Spartacus.
Yeah, I just saw that too.
They replaced Andy. Oh man.
That was a sad story, though, if I recall. Right? Didn't he have cancer?
Because he died. He died of cancer.
Yeah. Yeah, that was unfortunate. That was one of those like, if they do decide to recast T'Challa, same circumstance, which sucks. Albus Dumbledore in the Harry Potter series. I make full confession, I have never read nor seen a Harry Potter book nor movie.
Yeah, Dumbledore he started out as Richard Harris, played Dumbledore, and he was replaced by Michael Gambon in the third movie after Richard Harris died.
Never seen a Harry Potter. Should I watch this? I'm going to watch this with my kids, I think, at some point. Right?
I don't know. Why would you ask me if I'm?
No, I'm asking. I'm asking a friend. Like I'm asking a friend. Like I should probably watch that, right? Like is it like? Am I missing out? Would you sit there and tell me right now that I'm missing out on something like epic? I know it's like this huge.
Harry Potter?
Yeah.
I would go on record saying, "Hey, you're really missing out. You should watch Harry Potter."
Well, that's not how you would say it. I want how you would say it. How would you tell me, in your Hassan persona, that I should or shouldn't? Would you recommend it? Is there a void in my life that I have not seen a Harry Potter?
For your kids.
What's that?
I would recommend it for your kids.
See, Mark Pensavalli says no. Don't even bother.
You should ask him.
Well, that's the beauty of live, baby. That's what we got. All right, let's keep going down the list real quick here. Jennifer Parker in Back to the Future. This is illness thing. I didn't even know that. Let me go on record also as saying either I was too young and just didn't care or didn't notice. She was replaced by Elizabeth Shue in the sequels. I thought she looked.
Notice that Jennifer was a completely different actress.
I thought she kind of looked really. No, I had no idea.
You did. Oh my God! Who am I? All right. Okay.
I didn't know. What do you want from me?
All right.
Clarice.
Yeah, I want you to notice these things, or you're gonna do a show on these things. Maybe you should notice these things. All right, never mind. Go ahead.
You're the nerd. I'm the geek. We've established this.
Really?
We've established this. Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Clarice Starling in the Hannibal Lecter trilogy.
Yes. Yeah. It's Jodie Foster replaced by Julianne Moore. I'm not looking at any of these things.
That's a spot-on recasting too, by the way. No, I know. Well, that's why you're my co-host. See, it's good.
How is that spot on?
I feel like Julianne, like if you're replacing, no, I think if you're replacing Jodie Foster,
that's by definition that's not spot on.
What do you mean that's not spot on? I'm saying like what an amazing recasting choice. If you're going to recast, like that's an amazing like.
All right. From my understanding of spot on would mean like if you were to replace someone, the other person would look so much like the original person that it would be not so jarring. And Julianne Moore looks nothing like Jodie Foster. They're both beautiful women, but they don't look anything alike.
I don't know. I thought it was pretty spot on. That was pretty good. Do you know what was not spot on? Is Aunt Viv in Fresh Prince.
Yeah.
Right? No, I'm just saying the recasting.
I never watched Fresh Prince.
You never watched Fresh Prince?
Never watched. No.
Oh my God, we're gonna have a movie TV marathon.
I was never a sitcom person.
We're gonna watch Fresh Prince and we're gonna watch Harry Potter. We'll trade off. We'll watch an episode of Fresh Prince and a Harry Potter movie.
I'm not recommending that you watch Harry Potter. I said you should show it to your kids and leave the room.
Sabretooth in the X-Men series. Now this is actually funny because friend of the show is Tyler Mane, and he got recast for Liev Schreiber.
Yeah.
The reason was actually practical. It turns out Schreiber just physically resembled Hugh Jackman's Wolverine more than Tyler Mane did, and because it was, obviously the origin of Sabretooth and Wolverine is, brother and whatever, they just decided that's what they were going to do with it. So that's our recast list. I got to give credit to Brian Everham for bringing up the Hulk one. I can't believe that wasn't in here because Ed Norton, to Mark Ruffalo. That's a major one too, especially considering Mark Ruffalo, spoilers, was in the Shang-Chi movie. That's actually, that's a pretty big one. Is there anything off the top of your head you can think of that we haven't touched on?
Major replacements in movies, like if
yeah,
you're talking about movie franchise, just characters just replaced.
Yeah, the first again, Aunt Viv to me is like the most like jarring one that I've ever thought of, but I can't. I think
Aunt Viv.
Mark Pensavalle says the guy in Game of Thrones. That really narrows it down.
Yeah, that's not really. There were quite a few of them.
Did you see that movie with that guy who?
Yeah. I did see that movie.
Got replaced by that other guy.
That guy was incredible. That thing he did, that guy was incredible. I'll never see another guy do another thing like that ever again.
It was pretty epic. All right.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. We're gonna do Trailer Truth or Trash. I promise you, we will do Trailer Truth or Trash for Matrix 4. We're gonna do one for Shang-Chi probably next week. It's gonna be fantastic. But all right. Last but not least, the major things that came out today or this week was Hawkeye. Right? Actually, not last but not least, because we still got one more after this. Hawkeye trailer. The Hawkeye trailer came out, and I gotta tell you, this looks. This looks like this could be the best Marvel series to date. Like, hands down. It's got Jeremy Renner playing.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
I'm not.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That is, I was going to say, that's probably their worst trailer I've ever seen.
Oh, man, we didn't even practice this.
It stunningly bored the heck out of me.
Really?
I was absolutely almost instantaneous. It was like second all. I fell asleep. I fell asleep in a trailer. I fell asleep watching a trailer. You're saying this looks like it's going to be the best Marvel series
Yeah.
from that trailer.
Yeah.
I'll stop talking. You explain yourself.
It had the Christmas vibe. First of all, I like things when they're set against something, so I think that's pretty cool. Brian Everham just said it felt very Die Hard to me. Yes. I enjoyed that.
It feel like its own thing, not like something else. Go ahead.
Jeremy Renner in a tuxedo. Fantastic. He's going undercover. Very comedic. I'll be home for Christmas. I'll be home for this. I got to be gone for 2 days. It gives us the behind the scenes. So let's rewind for a second. The character of Hawkeye in the MCU. Joss Whedon dropped the surprise on everyone in Avengers: Age of Ultron that he was married. He's not the Clint Barton you know from the comics. He's married. He's got a family, and you're like,
Clint Barton in the Ultimates had a family. So.
No, all right. But the original Marvel Hawkeye was more of a, fly-by-night kind of guy.
Yes,
so
and we know it didn't follow the track of the Ultimates, considering what happened with Black Widow.
Correct. Right.
And Hawkeye in the Ultimates. So yeah.
I don't remember him in the Ultimates having. I'll take your word for it. I'm not denying it. I don't remember him having the family in the Ultimates. But anyway, yeah. So he's got this family, and you're like, wait a minute, how does he balance being a super agent, who has no powers but is very good with that bow and arrow, with having this family? Like, how did the family deal with it? And so the trailer kind of starts giving that insight. Kate Bishop, her character coming in, there's a great banter between the two of them. I'm glad it wasn't like his daughter. That was the other thing too. It wasn't set up that it's like his daughter's just naturally going to take over. No, it's Kate Bishop. They're, and they're going to pair off. So it's very similar to what the comic book run was as well. There's a mentor-mentee, almost, I could see it as almost a Karate Kid kind of vibe. And it just hit all the right notes. It had the what do you call the play, the Captain America play, which apparently was a real play in the 80s that actually happened, by the way. Did you know that?
No.
Look at that. I read it somewhere, though. I'm not taking...
I guess it's going to be amazing then.
Well, again, I like all that stuff. I
understand what you're saying. You're hyped for it, and I get that. But I don't know what you saw in that trailer that made you think it's going to be better than the 3 series that we already got. There's a possibility. It would mean to me if you had said, I didn't like the other series, so I'm very much hoping that I will like this one. Thus, for you, it will be better than those others, which I understand. That's fine. You've already made your feelings on 1 or 2 of them quite clear, but that trailer was to me, it was like one of their worst trailers. Like why
would you define it as one of their worst trailers?
Because I was not even remotely interested in it. Like it was like, all right, Hawkeye. Like you would see something about Hawkeye. Like the trick about Hawkeye is that he's like, he and Black Widow, but not so much because Black Widow has a lot of the espionage intrigue.
Yeah.
And she's got a lot of the girl power, kind of thing happening where in the very beginning she was, tough enough to take down guys. So there was a lot of intrigue behind that, even though she didn't have any superpowers. So you add, a god of thunder, a metal man, a giant Hulk, a super espionage, vampiress in the mix, and then you throw in a guy with a bow and arrow, right? Now, the running gag is that he's not special compared to the rest of them, but he holds his own in the team.
Mm-hmm.
So you would think, and then of course they did elevate him when they portrayed him as Ronin, which is a comic book thing, but they portrayed him as the Ronin in Endgame, right?
Yeah.
So you would think the trailer for his show would just unleash, entire craziness of intrigue about Hawkeye that we're gonna get things about Hawkeye we didn't even know we were gonna get.
Yeah.
But they still look amazing, intriguing, and I definitely want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's like the Loki series. Like what are they gonna do a series about Loki for? And then you see the trailer, and you're like, oh man, this is gonna be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not you think it looks great, there's gonna be a lot of intrigue to it. But this looks like Lethal Weapon. It's like, okay, I guess
but isn't Lethal Weapon like awesome?
Fine. Sure, but if you're going to say this looks better than all the other series, I respectfully, vehemently disagree with you.
Yeah.
I didn't say it looks like it's going to be terrible. You made a very bold statement that I'm asking you to qualify it. And your qualification was it's set in Christmas and he's got a tux on. So, I mean, you didn't sell it to me. That's all I'm saying. You didn't sell me.
I didn't sell you.
No.
But you didn't sell me as to why it was boring. Like, were you tired that day?
I'm not supposed to sell you into why it was boring. You didn't ask me why it was boring. I just said it just looked average.
Yeah.
I did tell you exactly why I thought it was boring. I don't think it's going to be boring. It's just I think that trailer was terrible. I don't think the show's going to be boring. So I'm not going to not watch the show. I just think the trailer is like, ugh. And there's a weird vibe to it. There was like this weird, like I know they were going for a Christmassy vibe, and then in the less serious aspects of it, because the last 3 series were pretty heavy.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was about grief. The other one was about racial revolution, and the third one was about a narcissist falling in love with himself in a multiverse that was falling apart.
Yeah.
So yeah, a little lightheartedness in this last one is expected, but the trailer to me was a little atonal.
Mark Pensavalli says his 17-year-old hated it. I'm surprised.
17-year-old is brilliant.
Well, that could be the case. I'm not denying that. I'm merely saying that I'm very surprised. Why would someone? There was nothing in that trailer to hate whatsoever. In fact, what I loved so much about it, and this is something that
use the word hate. I'm protesting the word hate.
Okay, fair enough.
I never use the word hate.
Fair enough. No, that's fair. One of the things that I loved so much about it, though, too, is this felt to me in a trailer. Let's obviously look, it's a trailer. It felt more like a movie trailer, and I don't mean like it's a movie trailer. I mean it felt like a trailer for a movie rather than a TV series. Like the special effects, the explosions, the city. Like I almost felt like this was the Hawkeye movie. Like we were watching a trailer for the Hawkeye movie. If this was a trailer for the Hawkeye movie, you would be like, no, you'd be out. Does that have any bearing? You'd have the same reaction?
I didn't say it would be out. What? Okay, let's try again. We're going to try again. I disagreed with you saying this trailer made it look like it was better than all the other series that we got. That's the only thing I said. I never said the trailer was bad. I never said I didn't want to see the show. I said I disagreed with you that this trailer made this show look like it was going to be better than all the other shows we got. Stop parsing my words.
Okay.
Stop trying to cause conflict where there's no conflict.
I'm not causing conflict.
I'm not saying I'm against Hawkeye and that I would never see it, and this trailer made me not want to see the show. I never said anything like that. I never came remotely close to it. And if I did, I deny it.
You said you fell asleep. Like, I don't understand.
I said the trailer put me to sleep.
You literally said, wait, you literally just said this was the worst trailer they did. I'm not saying you hated it.
Worst trailer that I think it's the worst trailer they had. It's the least exciting trailer that they had. But I didn't say that I would not see it.
Well, I mean, it's free and it's in your living room. I mean, of course you're going to see it. Plus, you do this for a living right now, so you got to actually,
Oh my God! No! I would see if I didn't want to see it because we're already arguing over another product that I am vehemently not going to go see. Right?
Yeah.
We've already talked about that. So if I didn't want to see it, I wouldn't see it.
Okay.
I would skip it.
Okay.
I'm good. I'm just saying. Look. It could be. Hawkeye could be the most amazing show that they've ever made. And you know what? Unlike most people, I would be the first to say I was dead wrong. This show is absolutely fantastic.
Yep.
However, it don't look better than all the other shows I've seen so far. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Fair enough. All right. Go rogue or go home. You're going to go home on this in terms of just the trailer, right?
I'm going home on the trailer.
I'm going home on the trailer.
On the series.
Yeah. I'm going to go rogue on this, even though ironically enough, I'm going to go rogue on it. I'm going rogue on this one. I think the trailer was outstanding and it got me juiced up. All right. Moving off of trailers, we got one more go rogue or go home, and that is for the new show that's on Hulu, Why the Last Man, dropped the first 3 episodes. I watched the first one. Full disclosure, I watched the first one. You've watched all 3, so that's good.
I watched all 3 of them. Yes, I did.
What was your impression of Why the Last Man?
I think it's a pretty solid show. It's going to be a slow burn. The first episode took a long time to get to the point.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But the other 2 episodes, which you didn't watch, were
it's okay. You can
solid.
Spoil them for me. It's fine.
And I'm not going to spoil them. I'm not going to spoil them for anybody. I just thought they were pretty solid, and I'm intrigued to see what's going on in the rest of the show. And I actually wasn't really interested in watching this originally, so the episodes actually intrigued me enough to watch them.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I thought it had a very Walking Dead feel to it. And I guess you can't help it because it's very similar. But even like the intro, right? The intro music or whatever was very like it just. I felt like I was watching Walking Dead all over again. I also thought, boy, I read and loved this series and don't remember nearly as much of it as I should. I remember even just him saying like "Find me here, Beth." I'm like, "Oh my God, yeah, I remember that from the book now." But I barely remember the book, and I don't know, and it's not a testament to the book. Maybe it's just that enough time has passed and we haven't revisited that world in any way, shape, or form that I just don't remember it to that great of an extent. But it was one of those things where I'm sometimes when I watch a show that's an adaptation, you like to see like what's different, right? Some of the conversation was obviously very now, like they're not going to have a conversation as if it's 2003 and it's Why the Last Man. It's not set in 2003 or 2 or whenever.
No, not at all.
So a lot of
it's a close approximation of wherever we are supposed to be now.
Yeah.
Especially socially and politically.
Right. So
according to some of the details and hints that were dropped.
Exactly right. So dialogue wise, yeah, it's like all right, dialogue, I get it. Like, it's modern dialogue, it's modern problems. It's as if Why the Last Man happens in 2021. Again, not 20 years earlier when the comic was out, or 15 years earlier, whatever it was. But the other aspect is I kind of like, okay, what has changed? Have the characters changed? Did they recast people in different roles or genders or races, or did they add a character? Is a character like completely different than what I remember in the book, or just little things that are different? And for the life of me, I'm like, I don't remember. And I don't know why.
Okay.
Because the book was great.
Book was very intriguing to you. Apparently.
Well, that's the thing. It was one of the best. It was one of my favorite comics to read. Brian K. Vaughan is one of my favorite writers. So
we just have to give it a read again, then, I guess.
Right? I know. I'm kind of digging it. Did you read the series or no?
I never read it.
All right.
By the time I found out about it, it was not consolidated. It was actually the series that was happening. And
okay.
I was many issues behind. I have like 2 issues of it,
mm-hmm.
and I couldn't fathom what was really going on. I couldn't get the lock on what was really going on without going all the way back to the beginning and starting again. And I just like, nah, I'll do that later. And I just, later never happened.
Yeah, it never happened.
I guess now is as good a time as any.
You know what comic I'm rereading too right now is The Boys. Not rereading. I've never read The Boys. And I know season 3 just started filming. And it's one of those things where, again, I like to know. I did this with Walking Dead, right? Like I read Walking Dead after I watched the show, and a lot of the decisions they made in the show, I'm like, well, that was way better than what Kirkman did in the actual graphic novel. There's things that Kirkman does as a writer in the graphic novel that I love, in terms of just getting you to pick up the next issue or getting you to read the next, in my case, it was the trades. But a lot of the decisions he made in the graphic novel, I'm like, wow, the television show decided this, and it was way better. And so that's one of the things where I'm actually kind of going into this now with Why the Last Man, and I'm like, I'm kind of like an innocent. I'm a totally fresh bystander now. I barely remember any of this stuff. I remember the monkey. I remember Yorick. I remember, and again, this is not, I'm not going to mention it because I don't want to give any spoilers away. I do remember what ends up happening with his sister, so I'm curious if that kind of if that happens. The agent, it's all starting to come back to me now. That we were introduced to in the first episode is going to be a long-standing character, and I do believe it's almost.
Well, let's try not to overcook anything or spoil things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, it doesn't mean they're going to follow it. It doesn't mean that they're going to do this. I'm just saying from what is now getting conjured back up in my head, it's there. Go rogue or go home on this guy on Why the Last Man.
I'd say I could go rogue on it.
Yeah, I'm digging it too. I think it's.
I mean, 5 years from now, when you finally watch them all, we can talk about it. just like the Ozarks. Anyway.
I'll finish season 3 of Ozark after when season 4 is announced. I know it's been announced it's going to happen.
2027, something like that. Yeah, we'll still be doing the show by then.
I hope.
We'll talk about it.
Well, go give me some details. Give me something. What did you particularly like about the first 3 episodes?
I didn't like the first episode too much. I mean, I liked it, but I mean, the issue with the first episode, and there was really no way around it, is when you pretty much going in know everything that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it does a lot of work setting up these circumstances and situations or whatever, but everything they set up is thrown out the minute the real source of the plot starts to kick in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody's lives gets turned upside down, everything changes.
Yeah.
So some of the setup was a little too intensive. Now, I've only seen the first 3 episodes. Perhaps it's a little front loaded so that it could disperse the plot lines throughout the narrative. Fine. I'm sure it will end evenly, in which case it will justify how long that. But I just remember feeling like, wow, this is taking a long time to jump. I think episode 2 and episode 3 really solidified it for me. I was really liking the way it was unfolding. I was liking the way some of the characters were developing and the circumstances in and of itself was taking place. It was a lot less punchy, a lot less preachy than I thought it was going to be. It's not interested in making a loud point about it, although the plot line in of itself is a loud enough point.
Sure.
So what I liked about it is that they don't so far for the first 2 episodes seem to feel that they have to overextend in whatever theme that they're trying to accomplish with it. So
do you think this, and this is prognostication, I know the answer is you don't know, do you feel based on the quality of what you've watched that we're gonna get a renewal on this one? We're gonna get past season 1, because that's been the problem with Hulu shows. I feel like that aren't The Handmaid's Tale is that they kind of come and they kind of go. What was the? Although generally, I guess that's Marvel stuff, right?
Yeah, The Handmaid's Tale is pretty, kind of pretty.
No, but I'm talking about the adaptions that made it to Hulu, and it's funny because it's a DC property, it's a Vertigo property, but it's on Fox, which is owned by Disney, which owns Marvel. What Marvel has done with a lot of these properties with Hulu is, it's like a one and done for a lot of these things, or scrapped altogether. Like Ghost Rider was supposed to happen, and that didn't happen. Hellstrom was a one and done, so the hope is that this gets extended to multiple seasons, because it was made for this. I mean, it was literally made to be a multi-season.
And your
epic.
Question is, do you think it will last, or do you speculate it will last and become multiple seasons and become a big hit? Is that your question?
I don't know. It's all I can hope for. It's all I can hope for. So I have more stuff to watch.
Well, when you watch it, you'll know.
I did. I saw the first episode. I liked the first episode. I had no problem with it.
All right, then what do you think?
I thought it was setting up everything that's going to come. So again, there's not. Pilots are very difficult, especially in streaming when they're going to drop 3 episodes at a time, and you have that cliffhanger-esque, format.
Yeah.
So it's not like network television where you got to grab them, like what is it? 24. That's one of my favorite pilots. Or Designated Survivor, great pilot because it was, it grabs you, instantaneously and just like pulls you in, right? This one, they know they can breathe. They know they have the benefit of, we've got a lot of time to go in. So, and Steve Ovecchi's correct. That is a classic Mike Dolce non-answer, but it is an answer.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a fantastic answer. All right, well, what did you guys think? Did you dig it? Did you not dig it? Are you watching? Are you in it for the long haul? We'll see what you guys think in the Facebook feed. Before we go to break, coming up next, by the way, Omar Morales, creator of The Crusader. He's got a new book out called Lunar Ladies. It's with Scout Comics. He's going to give you all the insight into breaking into comics. What I like about him so much, too, is he doesn't ask permission. He's just making these things. He's got a set plan to make sure that he delivers on stuff. Really great creator to check out. He does some stuff on Kickstarter as well. So that's coming up next. We actually got a pre-recording. We got to record him earlier in the week, which was great. But meanwhile, before we go to break, just want to remind folks we've got 1 week left. Time Trader number 3, now live on Kickstarter. Go to roguematter.com/Kickstarter. Dylan Sharp can rewind time whenever he wants to. Goes to the stock market to cash in. Finds it's run by an Illuminati of people just like him. Issue 3, get a chance you can catch up on all 3 issues in the Kickstarter. We got 1 week to go. We're already funded. We're going for stretch goals. Check it out. When we come back, Omar Morales in the house. See you in about 30 seconds. Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast. Happy to be joined by a good friend, but also a colleague in comic book crime. If I can alliterate, then I know I've done a good job here. Omar Morales, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, Mr. Dulce. How are you, man?
I'm good. I love anytime I can get a reaction of Hassan where he rolls his eyes under the sunglasses and I can actually see the eyes rolling. Then I know that's a double whammy. I know I've done.
And anytime you can see me roll my eyes, I've failed in my job because that's what the glasses are for. So,
no.
Fair enough.
The outer world can't see that. I could see it, though.
I get you. Understood.
Omar, you are an indie comic creator, an indie comic spokesperson, but also just a big pop culture and comic book fan in general. Tell us a little bit about how you broke into the industry, and then we'll also kind of touch upon, how you and I kind of came together to work on some projects as well.
Yeah, man. About 10, 12 years ago, I wanted to make my own comic book. I came up in the 80s and 90s, like most people from that era, hardcore Star Wars fan, Marvel Comics fan, Nintendo, NES, Super NES, right? So pop culture is just coursing through my veins. And I wanted to do a book. And I had started out with this idea about a priest teaming up with like a hard-boiled detective down in New Orleans. And then I kind of just merged the two together and thought, what if the priest was just an awesome kick-ass ninja, right? Forget about a buddy type of a situation. Let's just make this one person. So I started out with this book called Crusader, Agent of the Vatican. And I had a bad experience with a couple of colorists that took my money and ran, and I put a tweet out there, hey, I'm looking for a colorist. And then here comes Mike Dulce into my life. And,
That's right, see?
And we started doing business together. Awesome experience. It was like a 156-page book, man. We were working together for like 2-3 years or something.
It was a lot. But it was fun. It was fun. I mean, it was fun to collaborate. But you and I got together before. Like, this is pre-Kickstarter days. Doesn't mean Kickstarter wasn't around, but it's not what it was today.
Right.
Talk to the people out there who might be thinking about jumping in. How much risk you had to kind of take on to do
a comic book. I mean, this is going back to like 2014. You know, this is 2013. This is like pre-Kickstarter days. So there's a lot more. You know, it's a lot harder to jump in and do an indie book like you had done.
Yeah. Well, look, man, but I do a book like on average, like every 5 years. That's how I spread out the cost, right? Plus, these things take time. You know, like Joel was doing the art, right? And that takes time. And then your phase with colors, and then the third phase with letters. James Reed's a guy I collaborate quite often for letters. But anyway, so yeah, like, you do take on risk as the creator, right? You pump in thousands of dollars to do the artwork. There's no guarantee that you'll get any of that back. Yeah. So what I like to do is I work it slow and I spread out, you know, the cost over many, many years. And then once I feel like it's almost done, then I put it on Kickstarter. That way people can bid with confidence. Like, okay, I see pages here that are done. Oh, he's saying that the inks are done, the colors are almost done, and then letters will be happening over the next 6 months. Okay, I know this guy's not going to leave me high and dry. Yeah. And the other thing I like to do is kind of over deliver, right? Like if I say, oh, this book will be out for Christmas, you know, I like to try to deliver it maybe in the summertime or you know, September-ish at the latest. And then I like to throw in little extra goodies that people weren't expecting, you know, maybe things that I didn't announce on the page, you know, throw them in an extra sticker or an extra button and just really over deliver on the experience. That way they feel confidence to buy from you again. So that's kind of like my approach to Kickstarter. You know, family, friends, obviously people that you want to hit up, but what was really heartwarming to me is like the total strangers that'll come in out of nowhere and be like, this book looks dope. I'm going to give you $100 and buy a high tier package from you, you know, and that's awesome. So,
well, it's funny you mentioned that too, right? Because one of my questions was, how do you, when you do kind of spread it out, like you said, and take, you know, it can kind of get monotonous sometimes. You almost feel like you're working in a vacuum. You almost feel like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I up, you know, after the kids just went to bed and I'm, you know, it can be very discouraging sometimes to just work out of a dark room, you know? Yeah. How do you keep going when you know, you've got miles to go before you see the fruition?
Yeah, so in between my 5-year mega projects, I like to do like the little anthology projects, right? So I'll jump in and solicit or submit to an anthology so that I can have a little 8 to 12 page project going to kind of keep my juices flowing and get more immediate returns. And in those situations, typically the art is paid for by whoever's producing the anthology. So I don't have to shell out, right? All I got to do is put the script out and then, you know, just review the pages as they come in, you know, give some notes that I might have on colors or letters. And so I like to do these little projects, right? So between Lunar Ladies, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, a little bit later, and my next project, Major Tomas, I took on a couple little things with the Mañana anthology, and then I did my own 12-page Mandalorian fan fiction. So that kind of kept my juices flowing in between these very long tail projects. And then, you know, of course, there's all the fun we have on social media with, like, let's say Inktober, right? Inktober, I can put some little previews out of what I'm working on next without giving away the farm, right? Without giving away the plot and all the twists and turns and giving away all the secrets of the book. I can start to do little previews. So that's kind of the things that I do to keep things interesting. And then, you know, obviously with a wife and a family and a full-time job and all kinds of commitments, you know, like yesterday I went to the dentist and I was just like, damn, do I really need to go spend 2 hours sitting down in a dental chair, you know? But this is life, right? So there's not a lot of downtime to sit around and get bored, right? Things are moving at a mile a minute, and like I was hustling just to make it here on time and do this with y'all. So yeah, I tend to talk fast, think fast, live fast, and so I don't really slow down for nothing.
You've you know what I like also too is, and I love following your work on social media, especially because you're very inventive with your marketing. And one of the things you did with Crusader was you broke a Guinness Book of World Record. You printed the biggest comic book ever printed, right?
Yes, the record's been broken twice since in the last couple years. But yeah, I I knew as a nobody, I had to
Right.
do something dramatic to put myself on the map. Crusader was the first thing I'd ever done. And I come from like a PR and publicity background, so I figured, what can I do to grab attention? Oh, okay, let me go see if I can break the world record for the largest comic book ever made. So I researched it, and I found there was a Kiss comic, black and white, and it was almost 2 feet by almost 3 feet. So I said, all right, I'll aim for 2 feet by 3 feet, which is exactly what I did. So it was like a poster-sized comic, 28 pages, full color, Mike Dosa's colors, and fully lettered. It was a full-on comic, and printed those up, submitted to Guinness. I like rented out. No, I didn't rent it out because it was free. Like a library down in Fremont, California, said, "Yeah, we'll host you to do this big event to have an official measurement and all this." And so did all that, and boy, did that garner me a wave of publicity, not just here in the US, but like all over the world. Like this was like global news, and the Guinness people actually at one point were very close to flying me out to London for like this big press junket, right? I was going to be there with like, the smallest lady on earth and the tallest man on earth and like the fattest dude or the longest tongue. It was going to be like a spectacle of people, and here I would be with this large comic, but it didn't end up working out. Being that I was working full time, I wasn't sure if I could take off like 10 days to go fly to London, but yeah, man, I appreciate you recognizing that I had to be inventive to try to get my name out there and put my name on the map. And it's a crowd pleaser at shows, dude. When I break out the biggest comic and I set it up on display and I have the official Guinness like documentation, people are into it, man. They want to take pictures with it. First, they think it's a poster, and I go, no, it's a real book. And then they take it out and open it. Wow, this thing is huge. And so to wrap up this subject, Guinness actually put me in their book that they sell. I think it was the 2016 edition, which records all the 2015 records. And in the comic section, I had a big like spread in there where they have the book. And so yeah, man, that was my way of saying, here I am, comics world. Like I'm a newbie on the scene, and hopefully I'm here to stay.
That's awesome. No, I love it. So talking about Lunar Ladies, you mentioned that's your new project that's out with Scout Comics. It was originally a Kickstarter. A lot of people get concerned with, on both sides of the equation, right? Like doing a Kickstarter book and saying, well, why would a publisher want to pick me up if it's already been done? And on the other end of things, some publishers or even retailers get very wary about, well, why would we want to pick up a Kickstarter book since anyone who's going to buy it has already gone to Kickstarter and seen it? But you got picked up by Scout Comics. Take us through the process of getting, submitting. I mean, did you submit to a lot of places, or did you, have a relationship with Scout? Like, how'd that work?
Yeah. All right. Well, let me spread my wings and fly on this one a little bit. So the book was originally called Moon Girl, right? Because Moon Girl is a public domain character from way back in the 1947 EC Comics. I had done a short story about her for this anthology called the Not Forgotten Anthologies, which was nothing but dusty old, public domain characters that have been abandoned to time that everyone's forgotten about. And we revived them, gave them a fresh set of coat of paint, and did new stories about these characters. So it got a great reception. The artwork was fantastic, and people were like, oh, this is great. So I figured, okay, let me see if I can make this into its own thing. So I did. And I didn't even pitch it anywhere. Like Crusader, I never even thought about pitching it anywhere because I was too new. Nobody knew me. Same thing with Moon Girl. I thought, well, nobody really knows me yet still. I'm not going to pitch this anywhere. I'll just do it myself on Kickstarter. So I put it out there. That was like 2018 or so. And it lay dormant for like a year or two, right? The book was done. I had fulfilled the Kickstarter rewards. And I thought to myself, well, let me see if there's a market for this, right? So I started off talking to a guy at Alterna Comics. That did not work out. He and I were just not meant to work together, and we'll leave it at that. And yes, I will leave it at that. So then like another year goes by, and I thought, okay, like I kind of got that experience out of my system and thought, okay, let me see if there's anybody else who's interested out there. And on a lark, I sent it out to a few places, including Scout, and all three of them I thought took a pass on it because like 2 months had gone by, and usually, after 1 month, it's like, okay, they don't want it. A second month had gone by, and then like within a 24-hour period, all three of them came back and said, yeah, we're interested. We would like to do this. So then I was in the unique and awkward position of having to to weigh out pros and cons and make a choice, which I never thought I'd be in that position. One of the publishers was brand new on the scene. They're doing great things. I still hope to work with them someday because they're making waves. Another publisher was, they were interested, but they weren't like not banging down my door. Sure. And then Scout is very friendly to people doing a Kickstarter first and then republishing with them.
Interesting. Okay.
And my connection to Scout was a guy called Charlie, who was a fellow Kickstarter person, right? And then he ended up becoming the publisher of Scout Comics, like one of their publishers. I think they had like 3 people with the title of publisher, and the 3 of them kind of run the entire Scout operation. And so Charlie's like, hey man, I remember from Kickstarter, I had pledged your book. He and I had actually cross promoted each other. And he said, yeah, like you're the type of creator we want in here at Scout. So let's do this. And so, you know, my only picadillo was like, hey guys, the book is locked, like the artwork's done. I'm not going back and redoing art. I'm happy to do any lettering changes. And they were like, okay, that's cool, but let's change the name from Moon Girl because there's been a lot of people that have done Moon Girl over the years, including Red 5 Comics. And now Marvel has their version with Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. So they're like, let's change the title. So we changed the title to Lunar Ladies. And then they helped redo the logo. So really, I had no new costs at all, which was great, right? So it's going to be pure just income, which helps me make back, you know, this money I invested, you know, 5 years ago or whatever. So yeah, it's out now. So issue 1 dropped a couple months ago. Issue 2 is coming out in October, so you can still pre-order that one. I think. I think the order number on that one is AUG 211 997, and then the 3rd and final issue of the miniseries comes out in November. And the pre-order number for that one is SEP 211 731. So if you got an interest, you know, in pre-ordering, you can still do so.
You ran those diamond numbers off the top of your head. That's crazy.
Well, I've been, you know, tweeting them out a lot. And,
that's amazing.
You know, putting them out there in social media. So yeah, they're kind of burned in there now. But yeah, ask your local shop, Lunar Ladies. Hit them up, man. 1, 2, and 3. And another neat little thing I'm doing is for the Scout Comics subscription box. They have this like subscription service every month. They send out their books. I'm doing this unique print done by a fantastic artist. She goes by the handle Comet Con. So you can look her up at CometCon _. She did this special print, 5x7 print that's going to go out in every single subscription box in the month of October for the release of issue 3. So I think I might have screwed up earlier. Issue 2 September this month, issue 3 next month. Or no, you know what? I did have it right. October, November, issues 2 and 3.
Yep. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So now, we kind of touched upon you're obviously a big pop culture fan. Your company name is The Force Media.
Yes.
You did a Mandalorian. You mentioned earlier. You did a Mandalorian fan fiction graphic novel. I mean, it was like an original comic.
Yeah.
Talk to me about Hassan's probably better because he's a deeper Star Wars fan. We've established Hassan is a Star Wars nerd. I am a Star Wars geek. I enjoy the movies. I enjoy like the surface level stuff. He's deeper into it. Was there any concern about doing like an established character? But from what I understand, Lucasfilm is pretty kind of lenient when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yes, they are. So when George owned the company, he would encourage fan fiction. He would, in fact, run his own fan fiction contests on StarWars.com where people could submit movies, like their own original short Star Wars movies, and they would pick a winner, and they did get some money, and I don't know, maybe a furry Chewbacca doll or something. But so they've always been super friendly to the fan community.
Yeah.
For example, the guys that did that movie Fanboys, have you guys ever seen that one?
Yeah,
I have.
Yeah. So the guys that did Fanboys approached George and said, we're doing this movie. Are you okay with it? He's like, sure. Do you guys want the official sound effects? Do you guys want the official R2 and C-3PO and the laser blasts and the Millennium Falcon? I'll give you the whole kit of sound effects to make your movie more authentic. and they were like blown away, right? And so I think in the spirit of that, Disney, now that they've taken over, they kind of let things go, right? I mean, I properly credited, right, on the final page of the mini comic that I did, like, hey, this is the property of Walt Disney and Lucasfilm. This is done in homage to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, the inventors of The Mandalorian. You know, this is their property, their IP. I'm just here to have fun, so be cool. And thank God, A, no one's bothered me about it from like, oh, you're busted. And B, there's been absolutely no haters either.
That's right. Great.
And I fully expected, you know, haters to come out and be like, this is a fan fiction. Well, duh, yeah, exactly right. Like, I you know, I'm not sitting here trying to, you know, pretend like I'm part of Lucasfilm. But what is gratifying about this, guys, and I gotta Ricky Henderson pop the collar just one time. There was things that I put in that book, okay, October of 2020, that have just come to fruition as part of the Bad Batch. Okay, so on page 1, I have the Imperial Star Destroyers destroying Camino, the cloning facilities on the you know, on the water planet, and Taun We escapes from the destruction of Camino City, and in the end, I mean, I was going to say I don't want to spoil it, but what the hell? I'm like, what am I protecting here? Nothing. In the end, Taun We is basically found by the Mandalorian on a bounty and taken to the Emperor on Exegol, and he's telling Taun We, I'm going to use your cloning skills and we're going to do some business. So what happens in the Bad Batch? Imperial Star Destroyers come and destroy Camino City. Boom, the cloning facilities are destroyed, right? Because they don't believe in clones anymore. They want normal human stormtroopers. And then in the final minutes, they take not Taun We, but a different Kaminoan cloner, and they take her to this planet. And
I think you're right. I think it is Taun We. I think that the one they take is Taun We.
No, I think it's somebody different. But anyway, regardless, right? They take a tall cloning woman who's a cloning scientist from Camino, and they bring her to this planet, which a lot of people think is the planet from the Thrawn trilogy, where Jorah Saboth makes his clones with his cloning cylinders. And anyway, so they take her there and they go like, you're going to work for the Empire now. We're going to work on cloning. And I was like, hot damn. Like October 2020, I put out this little fan fiction, 12 pages that predicted the destruction of Camino and the end of the cloning, but yet stealing a scientist away and taking her to the Empire. So it was a little different in that they didn't take her to Palpatine directly on Exegol, but still, I was close enough where I was like, dude, I hit the mark on 2 major plot points in a 12-page fan fiction. And I was so gratified by that. I was like, I'm on the right track here. Like, I know what I'm talking about with Star Wars. Like, so I'll leave it there and take any questions you guys have about that Mandalorian project, which was a ton of fun to do, man. Like, I was in heaven. And Mike, you read it. So as you could probably tell, I tried to weave everything into this 12 pages.
Yeah.
Original trilogy, prequel trilogy, sequel trilogy, characters from comics. Like, I used the Nogri, right? Yep. They were from the Thrawn trilogy. They popped up in the cartoons. I did some deep cuts that only your deepest, dorkiest Star Wars fans are going to appreciate. And people, responded to that. They were like, wow, dude, like, you really like put it all together. You took from the comics, the cartoons, the novels, and all 9 movies, and you somehow jammed it all into 12 pages and made it.
And it doesn't feel cramped. It doesn't feel like that though. That's the best part.
Yeah, it's pretty light. It moves pretty quick. There's not a ton of dialogue, right? It's a lot of action. And the other thing, too, that I did was I did a little inside joke about, I don't know if you guys remember in episode 1 or 2 of The Mandalorian, where Carl Weathers' character tells Mando, he's like, hey, chill out for a while, man. Why don't you go to the Twi'lek hot tubs and just, chill out? So the front cover of my book, my fan fiction, is Mando with 2 Twi'lek ladies in the hot tub, just as a little nod to that joke, that Carl Weathers made about the Twi'lek healing baths, right? So that was the front cover of the book. So like I said, I had a ton of fun with that, man. That was wish fulfillment. So next on my list is probably a Metroid fan fiction, because I'm the biggest Metroid nerd.
There we go.
And then maybe someday a Captain America. I've got this story in my head that will just not escape and will not leave me alone. Like I've got to do this story.
Well, I guess that's my final question to you. are you hoping to crack the big two at some point and work on some of these characters for real? I mean, everyone says they would love to. I mean, everyone kind of, like, don't get me wrong. Like, if I got offered Spider-Man or X-Men, I wouldn't turn it down. But I always never had that trajectory where I will really, like, I have to write X-Men. I have the ultimate X-Men comic. Now it's more like, I like doing my thing. So what camp do you fall into?
I fall in the camp of you. Like, I just like doing my own stuff, right? I have zero aspirations of cracking the big two. I'd be happy if my next project, Major Tomas, got picked up by like a medium-sized publisher, right? Certainly not a Marvel or a DC, but somewhere in the middle there, because there's a lot of great ones these days. A lot of great ones, Vault and Humanoids and on and on. Aftershock, they're all popping up all over the place, and they're ex-Marvel and DC guys usually that are starting these companies so that they can do their own thing, and that's where it's at these days, is creator owned, right? So that's the camp that I fall into. And I also don't have any aspirations of being like a Hollywood screenwriter or a director or an actor or like a pro wrestler. Like, all I want to do is write comics, man. Like, I don't draw, right? I don't make music. I just like writing comics, and that's all I aspire to do. And I can't wait to put Major Tomas out there. It's going to take me probably about another year to get the art done. And then, as you guys know, there's pitching, and then maybe Kickstarter, maybe not. We'll see. So I'm going to be engrossed in that for the next 2-3 years. So man, that's kind of my attitude right now.
Well, I love it. And I love it. I'm glad we had you on, and glad to be able to just talk indie comics. Tell everyone where they can find your stuff and where they can find you specifically on social media.
Yeah, man. My website is kind of a one-stop shop, theforcemedia.com. It has links to all my social medias, like including LinkedIn, if you want to do that, and be all buttoned down in professional style. Or if you want to just, shoot the breeze with me, real casual, you can hit me up on Twitter. My handle's right here, The Crusader. My Instagram handle is very similar. It's _Crusader. Somebody beat me to it there. But and my gaming handle, Morales81, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo. You can find me anywhere, guys. I'm not that hard to track down. Gaming wise, social media wise, and theforcemedia.com is the best place to understand about my projects, and you can order PDFs from me, and that's the best place to start.
Awesome. Omar Morales, thank you so much for joining us. Check out his stuff in the aforementioned places as well. When we come back, more Rogue Wave podcast.
Thanks, guys.
Want to thank our guest, Omar Morales, for dropping some Kickstarter knowledge and just some, no permission, just go ahead and get it. That was a Rogue Wave for today. Next week, we've got a big announcement for RogueMatter.com. We're doing a big launch on the website. We're doing a whole bunch of stuff. We've got a ton of guests for next week. We will clue you in during the week. And that's pretty much it, man. We will see you guys next week. Rogue Wave.